Welcome to the Overdrive Show, and today we have the honor of speaking with Jenn Gotzon, in parentheses Chandler, because she's married now. She's a married girl for about a year, and we're so excited to talk to her today because she's a lead actress in the new movie My Daddy Is in Heaven. Welcome, Jenn. We're so excited to have you. Me personally.
Oh, thank you, Ginger. You're my BFF. Best friend forever. I just adore you to pieces. Thank you for watching My Daddy Is in Heaven and having us share about this powerful, award-winning children's storybook come to movie.
Well, it's so incredible because, I always tell you I'm always going to be biased when it's a film of yours. Like I'm always going to have an element of no matter how bad a movie could get, like I would still enjoy it because you're in it. But this movie, like you just, I don't know, it allowed you to stretch yourself like as an actress. And I'm telling you, there were times where I was like, that I lost myself in the character and not Jen, and that's hard to do. It's hard to. I thought of you as Becca for several scenes where Jen didn't even enter my mind. I was thinking of the character, and that's hard to do when you know somebody who's in the film. And um, I loved the storyline, and this is based on a true story, and I'm so excited. Can you kind of give your synopsis on like what the film is about so people know like what it is?
Absolutely. Oh, Ginger, by the way, thank you so much for your kind words. And so My Daddy Is in Heaven is a movie that's out right now. In fact, it releases today. We're super excited about it. And the story is based on a true story of Rebecca Crownover. See, she was so madly in love with her husband, Adam. And on 4th of July, their little girl was cold and said, "Daddy, I'm cold." And Adam said, "Well, honey, let me go back and get you something warm to wear on 4th of July. And on his way home, he got into a tragic accident. And so this entire story of this movie is about Rebecca trying to explain to Athie, her daughter, where did Daddy go when he died? And the only way she knew how to communicate it to her daughter was by writing a book, a children's book. And then after that book was published, they turned it into a movie, which we're now celebrating the release of today. And the entire story is a story of tragedy to triumph. It's a great place to be able to have a conversation for those who are dealing with grief, loss, that are seeking healing, wanting to understand about heaven and to have hope. And one thing that's really great about this type of movie is it's one of its kind in the faith-based genre, because a lot of faith movies take you to heaven and come back again. As this, you go and we explore through what that real life pain looks like when you make those real life choices, when you're struggling with your faith, when God, in this case, what Rebecca believes was took someone that she loved, because she really believed that God was going to heal her husband. She knew God was going to heal her husband. And when God didn't, she, like many of us, at least for me, your heart can get very hard and say, "God, why did you allow something bad to happen to good people?" So that's kind of an overview of My Daddy's in Heaven. There's a lot of comedy, there's a lot of humor, but it is a true real life story. And it's a great gateway for churches and for families who are struggling with the loss of someone to be able to enter into that conversation. Where do we go when we die?
And I think it's kind of something that we're all used to saying to children, as we say, Aunt Susie's in heaven, or, Grandpa's in heaven. And I think it's for everybody who says that to their kids, their kids like just accept it because a parent telling you that, you accept that. But then later on in your life, you're like, what does that mean? And I like that it takes that and makes it not such a simple statement to say my daddy's in heaven. It's makes it so real. And there were times where you like unleash the beast inside of you when you could. I love it that they let it show that it's okay for believers to get really angry when they're hurting. People, that's real. I mean, to see somebody that is so much pain, to see you get so angry, that's such a normal human reaction, but we shy away from it because it seems like, well, that must mean I'm not a believer if I'm kind of mad at God because he took my husband, but he also took her mother. And, but the grief that you threw, like, at times I was like, whoa, like she is mad. But it was great to see because I like seeing that journey of letting you get angry, let you kind of go off the rails. And it's such a beautiful story of restoration of someone who was a believer and then experienced some hardships and some tragedy and was able to do that. And that example for her little girl. By the way, the little girl in this movie, I want to adopt. Like, she is so cute. Ah,
Her name's Riley St. John, and it was her first movie. And she and her twin sister, well, Cricket's not her twin sister. They were very close in age, but Cricket jumped in every once in a while. But Riley, it is she's the little actress that plays AC, Rebecca's daughter.
she did so well. I imagine it was wonderful working with her as well as Corbin, who, for me, I'm old enough to remember L.A. Law and Major League and all these other movies that he was in, like from the 80s. But
Yeah,
he's still like he's a dad in Psych, and the Psych movies coming out. Like, he still does so many stellar things. His acting career has been amazing. So I was glad to
yeah,
see him as your dad in the film.
yeah. Corbin is an all-star performer. You know, if you go to the Olympics as an athlete, he would be the Olympics as an actor, especially in this genre, bringing rawness and truth and charm to all of his performances.
And it's hard for me as, like, to see you in a film as, you're married to somebody else, but it was very believable. I mean, it was such a, you can tell because it's a true story when you imagine that couple was so in love, that she, you know, I don't know. You
Yes,
could tell the character of the husband was just amazing. That he was such a great dad and husband. So that makes the loss just that bigger.
right. And Lane Garrison is the actor who plays Adam. And what's so special, talking with Rebecca now, this story is about Rebecca, is Adam, her husband, has so many similarities to Lane. And it was a God divine experience that God, you know, if you have faith that God is the orchestrator of all things, God was the one who brought each person to the cast. And it's extraordinary. The pain that Rebecca walks through is similar pain that I've experienced through my life struggle. And going in and through this role, you see a lot of that on screen, that God actually used this story to bring healing and redemption into my own heart, exploring the real world and real life of what Rebecca was experiencing in her real life story. There's a special hand on it for people who are mourning, who have turned their hearts from God, who have closed their hearts off due to religion or are just struggling with their faith. I look forward to them to see my daddies in heaven, because I really think that there will be a breath of relatability that they can say, oh my gosh, that's what I'm walking right now. And then in hope to be able to realize that God has not forgotten them. God loves each and every one of us, and God is there for us. We just need to choose to turn to him. And as soon as we do, he gobbles us up with his love, because he has never left us or forsaken us.
I think what was beautiful too for me is to see, like, your uninhibited joy that I see because of you and your husband, like that, like, giggly, adorable, like, I don't know, your when your whole face, like, completely, it almost like completely squishes up with like excitement, or it's like that was like true Jen moments, where you were just so happy and giggly, and which took me back to the day of your wedding, and you were like, they were about to say, we now pronounce you, husband and wife, and then you just start jumping up and down, clapping like a little girl, and that bubbling over stuff comes out. And but I haven't seen that unleashed kind of Jen. I'm glad. I'm glad I'm not the cause of any of that, because when you got angry in this movie, and it was so real. And when you cry on film, I can't handle it. So yeah, those are very hard for me to watch.
Well, what we do hope is that the pain of the human condition that is done through stories and through movies for entertainment is able to bring medicine to the soul. And so that's what My Daddy is in Heaven does. It brings medicine to the soul. And it's cool because we could see it on Amazon. People could type in My Daddy is in Heaven and they could get it right now on Amazon, or it's in Walmart, iTunes, Google Play, Vudu, and on demand on your cable providers. And when you're talking about the giggliness, what's kind of fun is the end of the movie, and this is not a spoiler, but it's just kind of a fun trivia thing. The end of the movie, my husband, Jimmy Chandler, he plays Becca's new love interest. And if you go back and you watch it, the first time that Becca, my character, sees Nick, which is this police officer, coming to help save Becca out of the turmoil she's in,
Right.
you will see me leap inside my skin and my eyes get joyful and sparkly because I am connected to the love of my real life as Jim enters on screen. And pause, as an actor, when you are playing someone that's to meet someone for the first time, you need to make sure that it's clear to the audience that they do not know each other. And so that was something that I look back going, well, that was me bubbling over, but it worked. There's so many areas in this film, I look back and we all as artists want to do better. But my job is to be able to honor Wayman Boone, the director, and our producers, the Nacers and DeRay Shaver, to be able to tell Rebecca Crownover's story as honest and truthful as possible. And so it's very special for her tragedy to triumph that my real husband got to play the character's new love interest at the end of the movie. And we were engaged at that time when we were filming, which was a couple months before our wedding. Oh, and by the way, it's kind of fun that this movie that we're in together is releasing a couple days before our 1 year anniversary on St. Patty's Day.
Exactly. Yep, 4 days earlier.
Yeah, that's kind of fun. It's just one of those silly things, like, it's just kind of silly girl fun stuff. I don't know if guys would get it, but us girls are like, yee!
Oh, I do. I giggly get it. And I knew he was going to come in on the screen because you had told me. So I didn't know exactly when he was going to show up, but when he showed up, I was like, yeah, Jen inside is restraining so much, like, to not get too over bubbly giggly when you're literally talking to him. I was like, how she, that's a real acting, because you don't restrain yourself when you see Jim in real life. But I love him because, it's funny because the character that he plays, he looks like that he did in Stranger Things, like he's got that cop vibe, but he's such a bubbly, funny, but he's such a funny, goofy, fun personality. I don't know what is his stature, I guess, like gives him these FBI cop kind of roles, but he's so good at it. He really is. I love that you're both in it. And
was hilarious. He is. He's very talented. He's a very talented actor. It's amazing that I think we've been on 10 projects that we have worked on together, which is just quite special. It's the only way you can look at that is that's God's masterpiece.
And I'm imagining that during this movie you spent time with Becca to get like her take on how she went through, and like did you tap into like the anger she felt and the sad, but also the hope? Because I will say this, it's not really a spoiler, but there is a moment when you look up to the sky, to the heavens, that just gave me Holy Ghost goosebumps. I
Mm.
just cried. I mean, and you'll know the moment when you see it. There's that moment when Jen looks up to the sky, and it melted my heart. There are so many moments like that. So I wonder how Becca came in, to like guide you in this film.
I really believe it's the Holy Spirit that led, depending on where everyone's faith might be in their own walk. For me, when there's a prayer team that comes alongside to pray, and Ginger, you've been a part of several of those times of prayer. And so when the art is happening, sometimes you experience a divine anointing or divine ideas or impulses. And when you said, did I spend time with Rebecca? When she and I spent those times together discussing the hardship she went through, it was as if I can sense the pain, and it was as if God was using this little vessel to try to bring those moments as truthful as possible on screen. So people, because everyone struggles with pain, everyone struggles with grief, everyone struggles with loss, everyone struggles with, God, why did you allow that to happen? Everyone struggles with doubt, and that's what keeps our faith strong, is knowing that Jesus loves us. He'll never leave us or forsake us. And Rebecca, talking with her, understanding her story, and trying the best to surrender to God's leading, as Wayman was the director, working with an extraordinary cast. That's why I think we're all real excited about this particular movie, My Daddy Is in Heaven, because we really think it will be a gateway to help people find healing and to understand the truths of heaven.
I think it'd be a great movie for anybody. Movies have a way of speaking to people, and it's a non-threatening way to invite somebody, like buy them a DVD, like give it to them as a gift, or give them a download, of the movie, whatever it is. Share the movie with people that need to see this movie, because it's done in such a it's a storytelling journey. It's not a preaching kind of thing. It doesn't preach at you. It just tells the story and lets you come along for the ride, and then lets it happen kind of organically, And I think it would be great for other people to
Yeah,
experience that.
and on that, what's interesting is we've received some reviews back from a variety of folks, because as movies come out, that's what happens. And those who are very conservative Christians are having a difficult time relating to some of the moments in the movie. But those who are not a conservative Christian, but who are on the borderline of their faith walk, they're really, really, really relating. And it's bringing them breath and hope. And I know as storytellers, we desire to be able to open up that question and that dialogue. And I think that's what makes this particular movie unique, and not what one would consider your typical faith-based movie. And that's just because we really dive into, what does life look like when we turn our back against God?
Yeah, I think that it needs that quality. It has the great quality of showing, the characteristics of someone who is living their faith, but it shows also those times where we have all done it, where we get lost, we wander, and then we have that moment, whatever, like you had an encounter in the movie, but there is a moment where I will tell you, for me personally, I was a believer, but I was tired. I was told to go to church all the time by my mom. My mom was a single mom, but she was a Texas Bible thumping. You get in that church, and it was great for my upbringing. But I started to doubt it when I was probably about 19 and had my own apartment. And for about 6 months, I was just kind of like in your movie. I was living like she did when she got kind of lost, when she got despondent and went to go to see her friend, you know, like that I had that same experience myself, and I immediately related to that. And for me, one of the reasons I went to Christian radio was my time was when I was in my apartment cleaning, and I was listening to the radio, and it got stuck on a Christian station, and there was a song playing, and I didn't want to hear it. I was so I would not look at anything that had to do with my faith because I didn't want to face where how far I'd gone. And the knob broke on that station, so that song kept playing, that Christian song, and I just fell to my knees and started crying, and I was done. I was done with the world. I turned my back against the world and back to my faith. And I think everybody experiences it, whether it's extreme or just, you know, questioning what you know, believed in the beginning. It's just a great journey, and I'm so excited that you are a part of it, and everybody in it just does an amazing job of carrying out the story. And now people can get it on DVD, but also download at all the digital download outlets. But it's you have a website for the movie for them to learn more about it.
You know, we're actually directing people to Facebook. So
There's
Facebook,
more information.
My Daddy is in Heaven.
Okay.
Or I actually think it's just as easy just to go to Amazon and type in My Daddy is in Heaven. And then you'll be able to take a look at the trailer and you know, learn a little bit more about how you are able to get this. And, you know, we've been talking so much about the hardship of this film, but I do think as it points people to hope, and it points people to we bring humor in the situations of dealing with some of those hard moments. And so I think it's a fun ride of a story. It opens with wonderful laughter and charm and good family, wholesome feelings. And then it takes the moment of like, okay, where do we go when our heart turns from God and we're dealing with our own stuff, our own choices. And that's another cool thing about this movie, My Daddy is in Heaven. You know what I like even more now I'm thinking about it is the aspect that opens up the conversation about judgment. How many people do we know judge each other based on their decisions? And that's something I think is great, is that this is a movie to say we need to not judge one another when they're grieving, because everyone is dealing with life differently. And they're making the best decisions they can in the circumstance that they have, in how their world is. And so we need to not judge one another, but we need to come alongside each other in love.
It does open with that you see this couple so in love, and it's so sweet between the two, you know, the married couple, between Becca and her husband, you know, that has so many sweet moments, and the little girl and the grandpa have so many sweet moments together, little inside jokes of their own and stuff. There's so many nuggets like that. And but at the ending, it ends with the best ending in the world, because it's just complete restoration. And
thank you so much for having me on your show, talking about My Daddy is in Heaven, that releases today. And we just so much appreciate your support, your friendship, your love, and just your tender vulnerability that you provide. Everything you have as a journalist, as an author, as a new book publisher. I mean, I don't know if you're a publisher, but you're writing your stories into books. I mean, you're doing so much, and we are just so grateful for the talent that you are giving out to the world. You are such an anointed, gifted woman with your passion and your joy. And I just want to thank you on behalf of everyone who has ever come in contact with you. You are such a gift, and we're very thankful for you.
Thank you, Jen, so much for being on the show. And we will share this with everybody. Share the Facebook and share the trailer with everybody, because faith films have a harder time getting heard. So download it, buy it, share it, give it, and help support My Daddy is in Heaven, starring the beautiful Jenn Gotzon. Thank you so much, and tell Jim I said hi.
I will. Thank you, sweet woman.